Picture this, an island way out on the very edge of the known world, a place of mist and stone. As the mighty Roman Empire was starting to crumble, something new, something really different began to rise right here in Ireland. These communities wouldn't just survive the chaos that was engulfing Europe, they'd become a beacon of learning and art that would pretty much light up the so-called Dark Ages. So, how on earth did that happen? Well, let's dive in. You look at a scene like this, and it just feels ancient, So peaceful. But don't let that fool you for a second. These places were bustling hubs of life, prayer, and unbelievable craftsmanship. So how did they even come to be? And what was it really like to live behind these walls, completely dedicated to a life of faith?
Okay, so it all kicked off with this massive shift happening across Europe. For centuries, Christianity was actually an illegal religion inside the Roman Empire. But a few key events would send these huge ripples all the way to Ireland's shores, a land that was totally beyond the empire's reach, a place ruled by pagan kings and ancient oral traditions.
Now, take a look at this timeline. What's absolutely wild is just how fast everything changed. In 312, Christianity is finally made legal in the Roman Empire. Barely a century later, by the time St. Patrick dies, the faith has put down deep roots all across Ireland. See, his strategy was brilliant. Focus on converting the kings. And once a king converted, his entire kingdom, his Tuthai, followed suit. This just paved the way for something entirely new to pop up, the Irish monastery. So, what were these places? Well, think of them less like a single church building and more like these totally self-contained spiritual villages. Let's step inside and take a look at how they were actually laid out. So the very first thing you'd notice is a wall. Not really for defense, but for isolation. To create this sacred space, totally separate from the outside world. And inside, you'd find all the essentials, the oratory for prayer, the refectory for meals, and some really unique Irish innovations that you just won't find anywhere else. And here it is, the iconic round tower. This thing was so much more than a bell tower. See how high up that entrance is? That's the whole point. If a raid was coming, the monks would grab their priceless manuscripts and metalwork, scramble up a ladder into the tower, and then pull the ladder up right behind them. It basically made them untouchable. Pretty clever, right? And this is where a monk would sleep. These are called beehive huts, and they were a monk's private little cell. There was no big shared dormitory here. Each man had his own small space for solitary prayer and reflection. It really reinforced that deep desire for a personal, isolated connection with God. And this is where the sheer genius of these builders really shines. Okay, you're in a land with very few large forests. How do you put a roof on a stone hut without big timber beams or any mortar? You use a core-build roof. By carefully overlapping each layer of stone just a little bit, they created this incredibly strong, waterproof structure that has lasted for over 1,000 years. It's so simple, and yet so brilliant. So we've seen the buildings, but what about the people who actually lived here? I mean, what did it really mean to become a monk in early Christian Ireland? Let's take a look at a day in their life. Becoming a monk was a total commitment. It was a complete life reboot. A young man, maybe just 16 years old, would join as a novice. He'd swear these solemn vows: poverty, giving up everything he owned; chastity, forgoing a family; and obedience to his superior, the abbot. He even gave up his appearance, wearing a simple robe and shaving his hair in this special style called a tonsure. His old life was just over. And his day? Whoa, it was incredibly structured. It began way before sunrise, no later than 5 a.m., with morning prayers called matins. The rest of the day was this constant cycle of work and prayer, from Mass in the church all the way to evening prayers or Vespers, which wrapped everything up. It was a life of pure discipline and devotion. But work wasn't just one thing. A monastery was a hub of all kinds of specialized skills. A monk could be a farmer, making sure everyone had enough to eat. He might be a stonemason, carving those magnificent high crosses, or a goldsmith, creating stunning sacred vessels. And of course, he could be a scribe, tasked with one of the most important jobs of all, meticulously copying precious books. And it's this unique combination, this life of intense prayer, quiet isolation, and seriously skilled, dedicated work that led to an absolute explosion of creativity. You see, by separating themselves from the world, they found the focus to create a whole new world on the page and in metal. These monks produced some of the most breathtaking art of the entire medieval period. And this is the crucial point. You have to get this. Their art wasn't just for decoration. Not at all. It was an act of worship. Every single intricate knot, every stroke of ink was a prayer made visible. It was a testament to God's glory, created by human hands. Perhaps the most famous example of all is the Book of Kells. It was created by scribes on vellum, which is calfskin, and it's a manuscript of the four Gospels. But it is so much more than that. It is an absolute masterpiece of illustration. You open it up and the pages are just bursting with vibrant colors, fantastical creatures, and these mind-bendingly intricate Celtic knots. The detail is so fine, it seems almost otherworldly. And their skill wasn't just limited to the page. Just look at the Ardagh chalice. This is the work of a master goldsmith. It's a symphony of gold, silver, bronze, and enamel, all designed to be used during Mass. It's not just a cup, it's a sacred treasure, an object of pure beauty. So how did they get that insane level of detail on pieces like the Ardagh chalice? Well, one of the key techniques is called filigree. This is the painstaking art of twisting these tiny, tiny threads of gold and silver into these incredibly delicate patterns. The amount of patience and precision it would have taken is it's mind-boggling. And that brings us to our final and maybe our most important thought. While much of continental Europe was falling into the Dark Ages, with libraries literally burning and knowledge being lost, these small remote communities in Ireland were doing the exact opposite. They weren't just praying, they were copying, creating, and preserving the entire intellectual heritage of the ancient world. So the real question is, how did this little island on the edge of the map become the unlikely keepers of Western civilization?